Hello and welcome to Quartzlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode the start of a new series for Vauxhalls in 1967. We'll start with the Viva. Hello and welcome back. Now if you're new to Quartzlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, and sometimes beyond those dates as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking back on cars gone by, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. So back to today's episode. I started saying that we're going to start a new series. Sometimes we look at full range car brochures, as in the full range for Vauxhall at the time, the full range for Ford at the time. Well, we're going to start one of those, but we're going back in time really to 1967 for this full range Vauxhall car brochure. Now, these brochures are usually too big to throw in one episode, so we pick a model and go through them one at a time. So we're going to be looking at the Viva, and at this time that would be the HB Viva, and it would have only just come out around about this time, so a relatively new car. And rather nicely, even though this is an old brochure, we still have the price list and the accessories list, how much the accessories cost, how much the cars cost in 66, 67, so that's always a nice thing to have a look at as well. But anyway, let's have a look at the brochure and the Viva. So here is today's brochure, quite a regular sized brochure, and what viewers will know when we sometimes look at 60s brochures is they're often unusual shapes. They often fold out into a poster, they often don't have the actual picture of the cars, they're very often drawn. Here, no, it's more of a modern type of brochure. It opens quite regularly, and we do have photos of the actual cars, which is certainly nice to see in the 60s. And like I say, we do have the Vauxhall price range for that time, and indeed the approved accessories, which we'll come back to in a moment. The car that we're looking at today, because like I said, there's the full range here, but the car we're looking at today, so here it is, the car we're looking at today, the Vauxhall Viva, and this will be the HB Viva. We looked at the HC Viva a few times actually on Quartzlight. I don't think we've ever gone back and looked at the HB before. Ran from 1966 to 1970, so this is Go Vauxhall 67, so like I said, very early on in the HB life. Previously, of course, the HA, which was a very different looking car, which had a lot of rust issues, and I think they was trying to combat rust issues with Vauxhall, but they still had issues which we might touch on later on. So this was announced in September 66 and sold by Vauxhall until 1970. So a much larger car than the HA, and we've got that Coke bottle styling, really influenced by American cars, of course. Now, Australian viewers might kind of like recognise that by their own branding. They did have an equivalent or a variant of the HB Viva called the Holden HB Tirana. Do you remember those? They ran from 67 to 69, so there was influence in different countries as well. But anyway, enough waffle. It's Go Vauxhall 67 time. Let's have a look at those Vivas. So here we go to the first page. I think we'll start up here with this image, then we'll work down some of this text. And here is a lovely little image of this two-door example, rather nicely showing that UK number plate, a D registration plate. Silver and black number plate, correct for this time period. I think it was around about the beginning of 1973, maybe the 1st of January 73, when you had to move over to the white and black and yellow and black UK number plates. Although they played around with those rules a lot, didn't they? Well, they said anything 40 years or older could have them, but I think anything really newer than 73. Looks a little bit odd with them black number plates in my opinion, but anyway, this is correct for the car. Of course, we've got a little bit of a badge on the side for Viva. And like I said, I quite like the styling actually of the Viva. I like that Coke bottle styling. Very much American influenced, of course, but still, I do rather like it. These have got full of chrome on there. We've got these extra sort of mirrors on the wings there as well. Of course, a quarter light. But let's have a look at the text, see what it tells you about this new model. So it tells us jet smooth, whisper quiet. This is the all new Viva. Wide tracked and all coil sprung for superb stability and comfort. Best power to weight ratio in its class 2, with even more power if you specify the Performance Plus 90 model. Don't get too excited, it's not going to be that fast, but still interesting to see. And like I say, we'll come back to the price and we'll see how that's laid out. Moving the camera down, it goes on to tell us modern space curve styling gives the Viva extra interior spaciousness. Hip room is more than 52 inches, seats are deeply padded and correctly contoured for lasting comfort. Upholstery material is smart vinide. And then we've got a little bit of 60s fashion there. Nice to see some form of seat belts in the back as well. That's unusual. Of course, they're those sort of just flop down, not the inertia seat belts. Still unusual to see that in the back of a car in the 60s for the UK for sure. And then it goes on to tell us from any angle the all new Viva is beautifully practical. Distinctive rectangular headlamps, neat wraparound tail light clusters and a stylish boot line that disguises its huge luggage capacity. And then we got this not too sharp an image for the rear, but interesting to see how it's styled. And I think this would look quite a modern car actually in 67. Nice to see little reversing lights. Yeah, they're tacked on as a bit of an afterthought, but nevertheless nice to see. Unusual positioning of the fuel filler there. Seems like a handy place, but I think it's possibly not the safest place to put the fuel filler in case of a rear end collision. I think that's why they ended up changing that idea. But nevertheless, an interesting looking car, and like I say, I think it would have been quite a modern looking car after the HA Viva. So these on this side would have been the deluxe version of Viva. I think there was 5 models at the time. The base Viva, which of course is too basic to show in a 60s brochure, then move straight to the deluxe. We've got the 90 deluxe, like the sporty example, and the SL or super luxury version. Super luxury was what SL stood for at the time, and then there's a sportier version, the 90 SL. Anyway, let's move on to look at the SL. And there we go. I was trying to be clever there, but it tells you there SL stands for super luxury. The keynote of the handsome interior and specially contoured seats, richly upholstered in ambler, wood grain finish on the fascia and special tray surround to the snap action Viva gear change. So basically what it's saying, a little bit of a nicer interior on the SL and very unusual seats actually on the SL. Like I say, the deluxe was more like a bench seat at the back. This is more like a moulded sort of 2-person type seat. Note the individual rear seats, craftsman upholstered to keep their shape and good looks. Rear armrest and superior deep pile carpets over extra sound insulation or other SL features. And here is the main image of the SL. We can see on the wheel trims a little bit of a nicer wheel trim which covered the entire room rather than the entire wheel rather than just the centre, so a bit of a nicer wheel cap at a time when putting a bigger wheel trim on was a sign of luxury. Front Front grille looks a little bit different on there as well. Overall, a nice looking car I've always found. Moving down, it tells us the Viva SL, the most sophisticated model from the Viva range. You can spot the SL by its distinctive grille, wheel trim and painted coach line. Painted coach line, can we even see the painted coach line on there? But anyway, for the demanding driver, there's the Viva 90 SL with its 69 bhp power brake, discs at front and larger section tyres. So you can always spec up to the 90 for both the Deluxe or the SL for a bit more sportiness. And nice to see discs at the front for the sportier model in 67. I think the 90 was probably the model to go for, though obviously you had to pay a little bit more for that privilege. So really, in many ways, this is showing you four models: the Viva Deluxe, the 90 Deluxe, the SL and the 90 SL, and just kind of like set it out on these 2 pages and kind of like forgot about the budget-minded Viva, not shown here, sadly. And that's all there is on this for actual images of the Viva. Next page moves on to the Victor, and certainly we'll look at the Victor next week. But if I turn one page back, if I'm able to, this is really the specifications for all the models. Obviously we'll just concentrate on the Viva today. We'll look through the specifications. We'll read this bit of a text I think first, and then we'll go across here and see what it tells you about the specifications and the differences. So really this little paragraph is really the introduction to the brochure. It says, in this brochure we are proudly present the greatest ever range of Vauxhalls, more models than ever before, brilliantly styled and finely engineered. The all new Viva range, the refined and improved Victor 101 and VX 490 models, Cresta and Cresta Deluxe, and most luxurious of all, the Viscount. It goes on to tell us all 67 Vauxhalls are designed with space curve styling to win extra roominess inside. Each one is carefully rust-proofed, finished in magic mirror acrylic lacquer that needs no more than a wash and a wipe to restore showroom sparkle, and given a complete underbody seal. View the Vauxhall range in these pages. Each model is truly outstanding, value for money, and, for 1967, presents even more impressive reasons why you should go Vauxhall. So I guess we should really mention, the careful rust proofing and a complete underbody seal. That was quite a big deal at the time because body design had improved really, because Vauxhall had really a very poor reputation with corrosion on previous models, and the HB had better underbody protection, which is kind of like highlighting here. It must be said though that a lot of UK cars at this time were really prone to rust. It wasn't really just Vauxhall, but Vauxhall particularly got a bit of a reputation for rust. Even though they made some improvements, these cars were still very much prone to rusting in the UK. All that water, all that salt. I think the main problem was with them rusting through the front wings and the area behind the headlights. Water, mud, salt kind of like accumulated in that area. And that ongoing problem with salt on UK roads affected, like I said, many different makes and models of cars, not just Viva, not just Vauxhall, but they did kind of like make further improvements, developing things like bolt-on wings and wheel arch liners, etc. as the years went on. But like I say, there were small improvements, because we think about the 70s, and 70s cars had horrendous problems with rust. 60s actually was little different, to be honest with you. It weren't until really 80s, 90s when things started really improving. we always think about sort of Italian cars being terrible with rust. Well, even these big makes had their problems with rust as well. Anyway, let's move on. Let's have a look at the models we could get. So it starts at the top here telling us there's 3 saloons for the Viva, and what it means by that is the base model Viva, the Viva Deluxe and the Viva SL, as in not the more sporty 90 versions. So these came with a 4-cylinder 1159cc engine producing 56 bhp with a 4-speed floor change, drum brakes or power brakes with front discs as a option, obviously extra cost to the standard model. Moving along, a little bit of an image or a drawing of the deluxe version where it tells you the 3 models. So the base model came with vinyl upholstery, individual front seats and rubber mats. The deluxe model, again vinyl upholstery, individual front seats but with carpets this time. And then the very fancy SL or super luxury model came with amber upholstery, individual front seats and carpets. Continuing on, the base model Viva came with face level ventilation and a headlamp flasher. The deluxe model came with a heater ventilator, face level ventilation, screen clean and a headlamp flasher. So really just shows you how basic that basic Viva model was. And then the SL model came with a heater ventilator, face level ventilation, screen clear and a headlamp flasher. And it goes on to tell us the base model came in 6 single colours, Deluxe came with 10 single colours, and the SL came with 10 single colours with a contrasting coach line. Now it does actually tell you the price of these models in the actual brochure, which is unusual because obviously prices change all the time, and these prices match up to being exactly the same as, if you remember, we had this little bit of an extra price guide. They match up with those prices, so we'll use these prices on this brochure, then we'll come back to the price list because it's got all the accessories you could buy as well. So the base model £579, 8 shilling and 7 pence. The deluxe version £626, 2 shilling and 9 pence. And then finally the Viva SL, the more luxury model, was £671, 12 shillings and 4 pence. Now don't forget, we could go a little bit further, we could get the 90 models, the more sporty models, so let's have a look at those. So at the bottom there we can see the Viva 90 came as 2 saloons, as in you couldn't get it on the base model. So the same size engine, so a 4-cylinder 1159cc engine, this time with 69 bhp rather than 56, 4-speed floor change and your power brakes with front discs came as standard. This time the Viva 90 SL is the little bit of a drawing on there, reminding that it comes as a deluxe or a 90 SL in this sportier variant, and kind of like the trims match because really it's the same spec level. So the deluxe going with vinyl upholstery, individual front seats and carpets, and the 90 SL 90 amber upholstery, individual front seats and carpets. Again, specs levels looking the same, so heater ventilator, face level ventilation, screen clean and a headlamp flasher for both the deluxe and the SL, and corresponding colours, so 10 single colours for the deluxe 90, 10 single colours with a contrasting coach line for the 90 SL. Of course the prices have increased now though, so that Viva 90 Deluxe is £663, no shillings and 3 pence. And then if you wanted the best Viva you could get, as in the Viva 90 SL, that would cost you £708, 9 shillings and 10p. And then moving on to the actual Vauxhall price list for this time period, and it's absolutely in pristine condition. Obviously it's just been hidden away in this brochure all its life, so that's quite rare to actually see that. Again, it goes over the prices which are identical to the prices that we just actually looked at in the brochure there. But then it moves on to accessories, so I think we should look at that. Incidentally, this is the full price list, so front and back, the different models and the accessories, so I'm sure we'll come back to this in different episodes, but let's look at the accessories. And if we notice, this price list looks like it's from an earlier period, so it says recommended prices X Works 21st of September 1966, and it says obviously go Vauxhall 67, but the brochure and the price list would have actually been from 1966, showing the 67 models. Anyway, so the price list, like I say, exactly the same prices, but it does rather nicely tell you lower down that the extra for the power brakes, discs at the front, as in for the non-90 models, was £12 10 shillings. And it tells you initial equipment for 90 models, so the 90s have got that. Also gives you an option for extra for oversized wheels and tyres, which the 90 models got as well, which looks like that was £2 and 15 shillings. And then we've got the approved accessories. So if you wanted a heater, which the Viva Deluxe and SL and 90 models got, so if you've got that very base model, it doesn't come with a heater, but if you just wanted that rather than moving up a model, it was £10 10 shillings. The screen clean, which is the same situation, was £1 9 shilling 6p. Reversing lamps, so we saw reversing lamps on one of the pictures. It wasn't standard equipment for any of the models actually, so £3 2 shillings and 6 if you fancied those. You could get fog lamps, £4 19 shillings and 6p. A radio, £15 11 shillings and 10p. So unusual to specify a radio at this time, I would say, and £15 sounds cheap, but it wouldn't have been cheap back then, of course. And then if you wanted the aerial to go with it, it was £1 19 shillings and 6p. Seat belts, front seat belts, £6 10 shillings. Rear seat belts, £2 7 shillings and 6p. So you could get the rear seat belts. I wonder how many people specified that. I'm sure not many. Extra mirror, £1 7 shillings and 6p. A bonnet lock, £1 5 shillings. Cigarette lighter, interesting, £1 9 shillings and 10. Overriders per set, £4 5 shillings. Steering column lock, £3 and 7 shillings. So very nice to see not only what accessories you could get, but also how much they actually cost. So they would have been approved accessories from your Vauxhall dealer. The price of fitting actually would have been extra. So there you go, a very interesting new series we're looking at there for Vauxhalls in 67. Obviously each week we'll pick a new model, but interesting to see these Vivas so early on, isn't it? Let me know your memories of the Viva just in the comments. Thank you so much for watching today. We'll end as we always do by saying thank you so much for watching Course Light today with the Vauxhall Viva for 67 and Quartz Light. Now don't forget, you can actually subscribe to the channel, and I'm very grateful if you do. It is completely free as well. Keeps you in touch with the channel, keeps you seeing the videos, so look out for that. You can actually become a member as well. Member though is a very small fee each month. Also, if you want to do that and support the channel, that's very much appreciated. Again, look at the YouTube Course Light page for that. But thank you so much for watching today. We'll see a couple of boxes popping up now there for other episodes you can have a look at. And one of these boxes will eventually have the whole series for this once we've actually recorded them. So if you're looking at this as in not a new viewer, maybe a year down the road, One of these boxes will have all these episodes for this brochure. Thank you so much for watching. Please do take care. We'll see you very soon. And goodbye.